Well, of course, we have been talking about a lot of this topic today. Former President Trump was indicted last night for a fourth time, given until August 25th to surrender, as John Huddy pointed out. And Mr. Trump, along with 18 other individuals, are also being charged. It's a long list. You can see that list here. I'm not going to go through all the names, but Rudy Giuliani, John Charles Eastman, Mark Meadows, a lot of familiar names on this list also charged. Now, the former president is also facing what are called RICO charges. Now, that stands for racketeer, influence, and corrupt organizations. Now, this means it's a crime to participate in or even acquire or maintain control of an enterprise through a pattern of racketeering activity, or even to conspire to do so. And by the way, even if that scheme does not have any success, if you don't get to the end goal, the RICO charges still apply. Now, as we have mentioned, this is now the fourth indictment of the former president. Let's just look at the timeline of how we got to where we are now. Back in April, Trump was indicted by the Manhattan DA. That was in the Stormy Daniels case. Now, in June, classified documents case. You guys have heard about that one. And then 2 weeks ago in the D.C. federal election probe. And of course, last night by the Fulton County DA in Georgia. And we will keep following this topic because it's only going to get to be, unfortunately, more of a circus with those cameras allowed in the Georgia courtrooms, most likely, and 19 defendants, including the former president.
All right, thanks, Kat. And here with their reaction to the fourth indictment of former President Trump and 18 others is our guest for today, Trump attorney for Save America, Christina Bobb, and distinguished professor for Touro University, Thane Rosenbaum. Christina, I know you've worked with the former president quite a bit. I wanted to get your thoughts about where it stands right now.
Well, the president's doing very, very well. These types of incidents, this is the fourth time it's happened now, and it only serves to harden his resolve to make sure that he makes America great again and we return the power of the American government back to the American people. As far as the charges go, I'm not particularly impressed with them. I don't think this would pass on a first-year criminal law exam as an appropriate indictment. There's several questions, not just constitutional questions as far as freedom of speech, criminalizing tweets and criminalizing political opposition, but she's effectively gone after her political opponents all the way through the Georgia Republican Party chairman. I mean, this is an attack on conservative views and on conservative politics, and it doesn't have anything to do with racketeering, which is what she brought.
Thane, I want to ask you a question on this one. Why would the former president be charged in Georgia, in the state, if similar charges or if he received similar charges in that federal D.C. case? There's one particular reason that we can think of that a lot of people have been talking about, is that if he is indicted and then convicted there, he will be unable to pardon himself if he is elected president.
Yeah, Katrina, they didn't have to bring this. They could have said this case is so similar to the one brought in D.C., the charges are already being brought. So one is your idea, which is that he couldn't pardon himself. He couldn't tell the Justice Department to leave him alone because the Justice Department, if he were to win, has nothing to do with the Georgia prosecution. And theoretically, he could be sent to jail if he's prosecuted and convicted before the election, and he can govern from the jail. They would have to redecorate the jailhouse if he's not convicted and the trial takes place after the election. He could just go, look, I'll call you in 4 years. I'm too busy as president. We don't have a process of normally prosecuting people once they're in the White House. But there is another reason, Katrina, which is that the D.C. case is based on laws, statutes that normally do not apply to elections, which is why I've been on your show before and said, I don't think that there's much there in D.C. because you have creative use of the criminal statutes. Here, at least, they have Georgia election laws that they claim that is violated, would make this different. But let me just briefly say this one thought. Go back to January 6th. This case is really about a problem that we're having, not just in the law, but in the culture, which is that if you ask some Democrats, they'll tell you that even the 30,000 people at the Ellipse had no business being there. They had no right to question this election. Not the 1,000 that broke into the Congress, but the 30,000 people that were peaceful had no business, because that's what this case is about. the difference between overturning an election and challenging an election. And challenging an election is democratic, it's American, and it's constitutional.
Okay.
They're saying that 160 things took place, all of which were illegal, all of which were part of a broad conspiracy under the RICO statutes to overturn the election.
Yeah.
And that's what's so dangerous about this case.
We're short on time here, but Christina, as somebody who's practiced law yourself, I'm curious at the idea of trying 19 people, one of them who's running for president, by the way, and has some other cases he has to attend to. And it's Tom Del Vaccaro was with us, and I don't know if he said it on the air, but he mentioned, some of these people aren't going to want to be in the same room with other people. So, well, I wasn't involved with that. I don't even know them. And I mean, the complication of this gets back to your first year in law school. I mean, Thane could indicate, agreeing with you apparently, that it wouldn't even pass muster there.
Yeah, this is such a mess. If Fani Willis's goal was to create an absolute mess for law professors to discuss for the next several decades, she has succeeded. I don't see this going anywhere quickly, especially if she says she wants to try all 19 at the same time. It's just a hot mess that I just don't see it going the way she envisions.
Yeah. All right. We're going to leave it there. Christina Bobb and Thane Rosenbaum, thanks so much for your insights.
Thank you.